when it comes to climate change. If we do not phase out combustion engines, we will never reach our net zero goal.
In an era where several automobile companies are shifting towards EVs in manufacturing their cars, one of the industry's giants, Mercedes, has shocked the world by taking the traditional route. This became obvious after they just released a new internal combustion engine like none other the world has ever seen. This is why they have been reluctant to completely switch to EVs. Could it mean that they know something others don't? What made the company take such a bold move? Join us as we let you in on the details about Mercedes' new engine. Mercedes' bold move. Mercedes, as we know, has always tried as much as possible to be at the forefront of everything cars and automobiles for generations to come. From the car's interior and exterior designs, to the modern sophisticated technology built into their cars, every single detail is definitely a reflection of their mastery of the business. But nothing stands out the most, when considering the company's cars, than their super powerful engines. Considering how unique their engines are, it is safe to say it is one of the important features that have kept them atop the industry as a big player all these years. Then again, it seems like they are at a fix. Lately, the company has stepped forward to present yet another shocking new powerful engine for their cars. A 4-cylinder engine that is bound to rival the likes of the 6- and 8-cylinder combustion engines. While this is a most welcomed innovation, it seems to be creating quite a lot of mixed reactions about Mercedes' future plans in the automobile industry. How so? Hold on now. You are about to find out why that is. Since the early 21st century, the trend of cars has always been the ones with internal combustion engines. As a matter of fact, cars were produced in the 2000s, and even though they weren't as fast as the ones we have now, they were more or less more complexly built. Then eventually, automobile manufacturers started to look for ways to build not just fast cars, but powerful ones. This hunger for advancement is what led to the development of several of the awesome cars that run on our roads. Cool, isn't it? Definitely. While it is hard to refuse the awesomeness of these cars, the major problem with them is that they are highly contributing to the level of carbon in the atmosphere, and this is not good for Mother Earth in any way. As such, to make our home more habitable, engineers started to look towards electric vehicles in 2010. It all started with the Nissan Leaf and Chevrolet Volt, right before Tesla took over with the Model S in 2012. Once other automobile manufacturing industries started to see how people were shifting towards EVs, they started to join the trend by building electrical vehicles as well. At first, like the others, you could say Mercedes was one of those companies looking to transition into the production of EVs. As a matter of fact, the company even stepped forward in 2021 to narrate how they were shifting their focus towards electric vehicles by 2025. This, they said, was an approach to win back over the customers that Tesla had stolen from them. At the time, they were talking to the press. They said they were willing to invest $47 billion in the project to ensure that they would be able to produce renowned state-of-the-art EVs. Now, the year is 2025. Do you think that would still be happening? Sadly not. In February 2024, the company went back on its words, stating that it would continue to produce internal combustion engines and hybrids into the next decade. Hence, setting aside their dreams to fully transition to EVs till 2030. It makes you wonder, what game exactly is Mercedes playing here? And how far into the future have they looked to come with such a rather conclusive approach? You'd be amazed by how the ace this company has up its sleeves. Stay tuned. Don't miss out on the good part. The decline of the EV hype. The introduction of electric vehicles in 2010 came with quite a lot of exciting reactions amongst car lovers. Although, in a way, you can say these reactions were expected owing to the fact that the invention of EVs marked a great breakthrough into the future of innovation. While that was the case, what wasn't expected, though, was the rate at which people were willing to buy these cars. Being that the EVs promised cleaner, greener transportation, the majority of consumers all wanted a piece to add to their garage. As a matter of fact, this all started with Nissan and Chevrolet Volt, but it seemed like people had finally made their minds up when the Tesla Model S was launched in 2012. This particular ride was sleek, as it was impressive, and in performance, it could compare to several luxury gas-powered cars, Mercedes included. At the time, this didn't bid well for the company. By 2015, the company had lost over 15% of its luxury shares in the United States alone. Then, imagine how much more for several other countries. Clearly, the company was in uncharted territories, and they knew it. This was probably why they hurried to announce their transition to EVs come the year 2025. But then the strangest of things happened later on in the market demands. One we are thinking that the Mercedes CEO, Ola Kalinas, and the board might have noticed. Apparently, while the charts for people buying EVs had risen spontaneously in the beginning, the market is now moving quite very slowly, with the flames of enthusiasm around electric vehicles slowly cooling down. This is most likely what prompted Mercedes to stick to what they are known to do best, and that's building ICE-integrated cars with super engines just like the one they just released. We'll get to the engine that's causing an uproar in a bit. But before that, let's answer an important question as to what prompted the sudden decrease in demand and what led to the decline of the EV hype. Word on the streets is that there are several factors involved, and one of them is the rising cost of EVs. Initially, it was said that electric vehicles were cost-effective alternatives to internal combustion engine vehicles due to how cheap they are to operate. But later on, people realized that this was a marketing front, and that the high upfront prices were outrageous. It was learned that these high costs come from materials like cobalt, lithium, and a couple of other minerals used to build battery packs. With the prices being high, coupled with the global inflation, it's no surprise why people are finding them expensive. That aside, there is more to it, especially when you consider the lack of infrastructure in place to accommodate these vehicles. Naturally, with EVs now one of the biggest things in the market, there are supposed to be enough charging stations all over the place to charge the vehicles. Sadly, that's not the case. Instead, there are but a few charging stations mounted across the roads. That being considered, you can say the realization and the anxiety that comes with having to look for a place to charge is one of those wake-up calls that many might have failed to notice when the cars got into the market. Anyone can call it what they may, but this means that there is a consumer sentiment halt going on at a global level. Think of it this way. The EV hype is now being tempered by practical realities from its usage in the decade that has passed, and Mercedes is very much aware. To be frank, it's not just Mercedes. Even electric vehicle companies like Tesla are aware of the behavioral conditions of consumers. As a matter of fact, they predicted a reduction in sales in the recent years that passed, and statistics have come to show that their prediction was spot on. With very few automobile companies unable to predict the future trend of the market, Mercedes has predicted that by 2030, the EV market will see yet another spike. This is why presently, they have decided to maximize the conflicting demands of the consumers by providing super sound cars with powerful engines. For Mercedes, you can say they made a good bet. You'd even be more convinced when you get to know what the new engine they built is capable of. Brace yourself. From all we have learned, Mercedes might have not been idle after all. The new engine by Mercedes, that took the industry by surprise. No doubt Mercedes has built a lot of badass engines over the years, but that which stands out the most is the M139. The M139 engine is one of those engines that almost literally screams Mercedes when it runs. It has the company's ingenuity, signature, and crest all over, posing as proof of the relentless sheer will that the company has to push advancements. From mere description, it is a 4-cylinder engine, but rest assured, it is way more than that. It is safe to say that it is the most powerful 4-cylinder engine, one to be ever produced for a production car. As a matter of fact, there was no hint whatsoever that Mercedes would grace us with such a masterpiece, not until the release of the Mercedes-AMG A45S. After they saw that the car had completely embodied the dream of having a 4-cylinder engine, they then decided to include it in several other projects. With the company having lavished over $15 billion on the production of these particular engines, we are here to tell you that being able to deliver a clean 469 horsepower, this engine would make quite a lot of 6-cylinder engines appear flawed. You heard that right. Even a couple of V8s might find it hard to compete with this engine that Mercedes has just released. And that's a fact. This makes you imagine how much Mercedes might have gone out of their way to produce this engine. The truth is, the company knows what they are up against. A competitive market like none other in the history of the automobile industry. So if they are to really make their mark with the ICEs, they must only produce the best, and this is exactly what they are doing. Thanks to advanced engineering, they have managed to bring automotive perfection to life through the M139. Still highlighting what this engine has to offer, you should know that it has a twin-scroll turbocharging which helps airflow. With this, the engine is more likely to respond quickly without any lagging, ensuring constant power. There's more. Aside from the fact that the engine has a cooling system that ensures consistent performance, it is quite very light and made with aluminum. At top speed, you can almost imagine this engine helping the car to take flight. Now isn't that wild? And before you go screaming at the possibility of higher carbon emissions by these engines, you should know that particular factor was considered while it was being built. As a means to ensure they follow the Euro 7 policy set to be enacted by July this year, they have made sure that the emissions from the engine are reduced to the barest minimum. How's that for thinking way ahead? Mercedes might be onto something really big here. They have proven times unending that they have the power to build cars and engines that speak for them. With several predictions and uncertainties, this engine might be loud enough to draw people back to the traditional engine prototypes. If that happens, this could actually be the invention of the decade. No one needs to be reminded of how innovation in China has challenged many industries across the globe, and that is why the new engine of this tiny, low-priced electric car called the Seagull.
The UK has always been an open market. We've seen over the years European brands come, Japanese brands come, Korean brands come, and we can see now Chinese brands arriving in the UK, and the British consumer is open to that.
Has American automakers and politicians trembling. In case you don't know, China has the biggest electric vehicle industry in the world, making about 58% of all EVs produced globally. With everyone pushing for sustainable transportation, could this new engine make today's EVs outdated? Will big car companies struggle to keep up or give up the competition? Join us as we dive into how this new engine could change the game for EVs, dominating all previous innovations. Biggest electric vehicle industry. China's electric vehicle, EV industry, is currently the largest in the world, producing a staggering 58% of all EVs globally. In 2023 alone, the country exported over 1.5 million electric vehicles. Sales numbers are impressive too, as China sold over 9 million passenger EVs that year, with the majority being battery-only electric vehicles, and the rest being plug-in hybrids. Battery-only electric vehicles run entirely on electric power from rechargeable batteries, while plug-in hybrid electric vehicles have both a rechargeable battery and a gasoline engine, allowing them to switch between electric power and fuel. These figures highlight China's dominance not just in cars, but also in electric buses and commercial vehicles. By 2019, China had already accounted for 98% of the world's electric buses and 65% of electric commercial vehicles. In 2023, the country added nearly 500,000 more commercial EVs to its fleet.
The nation is now the world's largest EV market. China's electric car sector has been supercharged by government subsidies and the rise of domestic EV companies.
But that's not all. China's electric vehicle market has grown rapidly, with plug-in EVs accounting for 37% of all vehicle sales in 2023, a big jump from only 6.3% 3 years earlier. To put this into perspective, imagine a car dealership where out of every 100 cars sold, nearly 40 are electric, compared to just 6 out of 100 a few years ago. This dramatic shift is largely due to the rise of battery-only electric vehicles, BEVs, which have captured a quarter of the market. The popularity of BEVs is a testament to China's push for clean energy, with both the government and consumers showing a clear preference for greener options. Companies like BYD Auto and SAIC Motor have ridden this wave, not just in terms of market share, but by driving down costs and improving technology, making it easier for everyday people to opt for electric cars. Picture BYD's sleek, fully electric sedans rolling off the lot, competing in price and style with traditional gasoline cars, a transformation in both perception and reality. The backbone of this EV revolution is the battery industry, and here too, China stands at the forefront. Think of batteries as the heart of an electric vehicle, representing about 1/3 of its cost. With companies like CATL, BYD, and CALB producing the majority of the world's lithium-ion batteries,
specifically those used in Ford electric vehicles, including a new battery chemistry coming this year that will help us make EVs more affordable and accessible.
China has a strategic advantage. In fact, 80% of all lithium-ion batteries made globally go into electric vehicles, most of which are produced by these Chinese giants. CATL, for example, isn't just making batteries, but it's shaping the future of transportation by controlling a key part of the EV supply chain. This dominance means that whether you're driving an electric bus in Shanghai or a Tesla in California, chances are high that the battery powering it came from China. This control over both EV production and the battery supply gives China a commanding position in the global race to electrify transportation. It is what has led to the unveiling of the Seagull. The Seagull. If you ever imagine a car that sells for just around $12,000 but offers the quality and performance of vehicles 3 times the price, that's what BYD, a Chinese automaker, has achieved with its electric vehicle, the Seagull. Launched last year, the car delivers smooth handling and impressive craftsmanship, putting it on par with US-made electric cars. There's even a shorter-range version that goes for under $10,000, making it an appealing option for budget-conscious buyers. For now, steep tariffs on Chinese imports mean we won't be seeing the Seagull on US roads anytime soon. Even if it were to be imported, its price would likely climb above the $12,000 mark.
We're looking at a BYD Seagull. This vehicle was recently introduced, priced in this $11,000 range.
However, the rapid rise of affordable electric vehicles from China is set to disrupt the global auto industry in ways not seen since the 1970s, when Japanese car manufacturers reshaped the market during the oil crises. BYD, which stands for Build Your Dreams, could quickly become a nightmare for US automakers. As Sam Fiorani, an auto industry expert, puts it, any car company that's not paying attention to them as a competitor is going to be lost when they hit their market. The question isn't if BYD will enter the US market, it's when. With growing political tension over jobs and security, the US government is already gearing up to act. The Biden administration is expected to slap a 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles, a move intended to protect American jobs and curb what's seen as a national security threat. Yet the momentum of BYD and other Chinese EV makers shows no sign of slowing, and the industry is bracing for a major shakeup. The concern raised by the Alliance for American Manufacturing highlights a critical point. Chinese-made electric vehicles, backed by significant government subsidies, are becoming a formidable competitor. This is like the rise of Japanese car companies in the 1970s, when affordable, fuel-efficient cars like the Toyota Corolla suddenly disrupted the American car market. In the same way, Chinese EV makers such as BYD are offering low-cost electric cars that could sweep through the global market and leave more expensive brands struggling to keep up.
Today we have a BYD Seal with a 82.5 kilowatt battery in ice blue. This vehicle benefits from many features such as the panoramic roof.
Elon Musk has even warned that without trade barriers, these Chinese EVs, with their superior quality at lower prices, could potentially drive many global car companies out of business, much like how low-cost tech manufacturers in Asia redefined the electronics industry. And just so you know why this is concerning for traditional car companies, here's why. What makes this even more concerning for traditional automakers is that outside China, EVs have largely remained a luxury for the wealthy. Brands like Tesla, or even electric models from established automakers like Mercedes or Audi, cater mostly to high-income buyers. But Chinese automakers are flipping the script, producing affordable EVs that appeal to the average consumer. This is happening at the same time as governments worldwide are pushing for a transition away from gas-powered vehicles to combat climate change. It's like seeing budget-friendly smartphones become widely available just as the world was moving toward mobile technology. Suddenly, what was once a premium product is accessible to the masses, and this democratization of EVs could reshape the auto industry in much the same way. Bill Russo, a consultant based in Shanghai, points out the key difference, stating that Western markets gentrified EVs, limiting their reach. But China is democratizing them, which is why Chinese companies are set to succeed as they expand globally. In Detroit, Caresoft Global dismantled a BYD Seagull, and its findings sent shockwaves through the U.S. auto industry.
Since they started tracking it in the early 90s, General Motors has been the top dog when it comes to auto sales here in the U.S.
Terry Wojciechowski, the company's president and a former GM engineer, described the Seagull as a wake-up call for American automakers, highlighting just how far behind they are in producing affordable electric vehicles. The Seagull's design is a lesson in cost-effective innovation, such as using a single windshield wiper to cut down on expenses and weight. Its lightweight structure, 900 pounds less than a Chevrolet Bolt, allows it to go farther on a smaller battery, making it more efficient and appealing to budget-conscious consumers. This kind of ingenuity poses a significant challenge to U.S. carmakers, who must now accelerate their efforts to compete with China's low-cost, high-efficiency EVs. BYD, short for Build Your Dreams, has found a way to significantly cut costs by taking a more hands-on approach to manufacturing. They make many of their own parts, from electric motors to dashboards, and use lithium iron phosphate batteries, which are cheaper than the more common lithium-ion batteries, though they provide slightly less range. This strategy, combined with BYD's massive production scale, selling 3 million cars globally last year, gives the company a huge competitive edge. It is more like a tech company that not only designs its products, but also makes the chips and hardware in-house, allowing it to offer high-quality devices at a fraction of the cost. Despite its simplicity, BYD's Seagull feels sturdy and well-crafted.
The Seagull includes a 4-seater, 5-entryway design in a hatchback body style with a length of just 3,780 millimeters, 148.8 in.
Its minimalist design doesn't take away from the driving experience. It's quiet, smooth, and handles well enough to safely enter highways, even though it's not as fast as some pricier electric vehicles. However, before hitting the US market, BYD would need to make some modifications to meet stricter safety regulations, which could increase the price. For now, high tariffs keep BYD from selling cars directly in the US, but they're already making waves elsewhere. The Seagull is available in Latin America for around $21,000, while in Europe, they're offering higher-end models like the Seal, starting at $50,000 in France, showing they can cater to both affordable and premium markets. Chinese automakers are charging ahead with a new generation of electric vehicles, setting their sights on both local dominance and global expansion. These EVs are more than just energy efficient. They're designed to be larger, more comfortable, and packed with cutting-edge technology, making them serious contenders in the global car market. This year alone, 71 new battery-powered models will hit the market, offering features like taller hoods that give a more commanding appearance, larger tires for improved braking, and thicker, more comfortable seating. Chinese automakers are also innovating with smaller but more powerful batteries that recharge faster, making their vehicles more practical for everyday use. These changes aren't just aimed at domestic consumers, but are part of a broader push to make Chinese EVs more appealing abroad.
A factory of the future. China's grand bet is on green technology and these electric vehicles. Globally, the scale is staggering. More than half of all new EVs sold worldwide are from China.
The rise of these battery-powered cars and plug-in hybrids is already eating into the sales of traditional gasoline-powered vehicles. In addition to better design and battery technology, Chinese automakers are leading the way in autonomous driving systems. Recently, Chinese authorities gave the green light for more advanced self-driving cars, including models from Tesla, BYD, and NIO, showing the government's commitment to making China a global leader in this space. In contrast, the US government has been more cautious with Tesla's autopilot. But in China, the public and regulators view autonomous technology as a safer alternative to human drivers. Chinese automakers are investing heavily in this area, turning their cars into what GUA's VP of design called robots on wheels. Leading the charge is Seagull, the world's largest battery maker, which unveiled a battery that can provide 370 miles of range with just a 10-minute charge, groundbreaking for long-distance travel. These advancements allow automakers to offer vehicles with more spacious interiors and luxurious back seats, a key selling point as customers increasingly demand more comfort in their vehicles. Globally, this wave of innovation is sending shockwaves through the auto industry. Companies like Tesla remain the primary competitors in the EV space.
Tesla should be able to capitalize on IRA tax credits more than any other automaker. Shares are down nearly 2% this afternoon.
But even they are feeling the pressure from Chinese brands, which are rapidly expanding their reach. In Europe, Chinese-made EVs are steadily gaining market share, making up 10% of the market, and prompting an investigation into whether China's electric vehicles are being unfairly subsidized. At the Beijing Auto Show, Western brands like Ford and General Motors struggled to match the excitement around Chinese manufacturers, who are now eyeing the US market. Ford, for instance, had a rocky start with its Mustang Mach-E due to production delays, while Chinese companies like Geely are already exporting their Polestar models to the US, despite having to navigate steep tariffs. As Chinese automakers continue to innovate and expand, the global competition is heating up, and US and European car manufacturers must quickly adapt if they hope to keep pace in the evolving world of electric vehicles. US automakers, particularly Ford, are realizing the urgency of the competition posed by Chinese EV makers like BYD. Jim Farley, Ford's CEO, has witnessed the rapid rise of Chinese electric vehicles in Europe, where they now account for 10% of the market. This shift is forcing Ford to rethink its strategy and develop a more affordable EV to compete. Farley's warning, which says, "Don't take anything for granted," emphasizes the seriousness of the situation, meaning that American companies can no longer rely on their legacy or existing market share.
And let's begin with development in US, where major US and foreign automakers, they have backed environmental protection agencies' new tougher vehicle emission regulations in a court challenge brought by some states and ethanol groups.
To stay competitive, they must adapt quickly, innovating in both design and cost efficiency to meet the challenge from China's fast-evolving EV industry. But China's journey to dominance didn't just start yesterday, it started a long time ago. Let's take a look at how it all began. The beginning of electric vehicles in China. China's journey with electric vehicles is a story of a massive change. In the 1990s and early 2000s, China's cities were literally filled with thick smog, and the country was spending a lot of money importing oil to keep up with its growing energy needs. The government realized that something had to change, not just to clean up the air, but also to reduce its reliance on other countries for oil. So they decided to push for electric vehicles. What began as small, slow experiments funded by the government turned into a huge transformation. Over time, China went from barely producing any EVs to becoming the top player in the global EV market. It all started in 2001 when China made the bold move to invest in clean energy technology through a program called the 863 program. The goal was to find new ways to reduce pollution and dependence on oil, and electric cars were a big part of that plan. Initially, progress in the electric vehicle (EV) industry was slow in China due to high costs and low demand, but government support played a crucial role in changing this trajectory. Over 2 decades, the Chinese government invested in research.
Talking through the need for China to enhance its strategic, scientific and technological capability, he said that China will strive to make major breakthroughs in core technologies in key fields as well.
Offered consumer incentives and collaborated with state-owned automakers like SAIC Motor and FAW Group to develop early prototypes of electric and hybrid vehicles. The significant turning point occurred around 2010 when China introduced its first major policy framework to promote EVs, including subsidies for consumers and funding for charging infrastructure. This led to the launch of the New Energy Vehicle (NEV) plan in 2012, setting ambitious production and sales targets for battery-only electric vehicles, BEVs, and plug-in hybrids. The decade witnessed rapid advancements in EV technology, primarily driven by domestic companies like BYD Auto, which transitioned from battery manufacturing to EV production, with models like the BYD Chin becoming bestsellers. Other automakers, such as SAIC Motor and Geely, also joined the market, fostering competition and innovation. Today, China leads the world in EV production and sales, accounting for nearly half of all EVs globally. By the mid-2010s, China's EV market had started gaining momentum. The government rolled out aggressive incentives for NEV production, pushing automakers to increase their EV output. Cities like Shenzhen and Beijing began transitioning public transportation fleets, particularly buses, to electric power.
In just 3 years, all of Shenzhen's 16,000 buses have gone electric. The city's bus drivers have been retrained, and there are now 5,000 charging points at bus depots.
China's ability to build EV infrastructure, like charging stations, also improved dramatically, with cities mandating the construction of public and residential charging points. By 2020, China had become the undisputed global leader in electric vehicle production and sales. In that year alone, 1.3 million plug-in EVs were sold in China, representing over 40% of global sales. The explosive growth was driven by consumer demand, improved technology, and government policies that now included strict quotas on automakers for EV production. China's domestic manufacturers, particularly BYD, NIO, XPeng, and SAIC Motor, continued to innovate, producing EVs that were more affordable and competitive in both quality and performance compared to their foreign counterparts. Tesla, recognizing the importance of the Chinese market, opened its Gigafactory in Shanghai in 2020, marking the first time a foreign automaker was allowed to fully own a factory in China. Tesla's success in China further validated the country's growing EV market. In 2021, the Chinese government continued its commitment to NEVs with the announcement of the dual credit system, which set mandatory quotas for automakers to produce electric vehicles. The government also began reducing subsidies to encourage the industry to become self-sustaining, pushing manufacturers to improve cost efficiency and technological innovation.
24th China High-Tech Fair concluded on Saturday in Shenzhen, South China's Guangdong province, highlighting innovation-driven development. The 5-day event attracted over 5,600 exhibitors from 41 countries and regions.
By 2023, plug-in EVs accounted for 37% of all vehicle sales in China, with battery-only EVs holding a 25% market share, demonstrating the massive shift toward fully electric solutions. Despite all of these, it is important to note that the battery industry plays a key role, and here's how. Why the battery industry is so important. A big reason behind China's success in electric vehicles is its control of the battery supply chain. Batteries are a huge part of an EV's cost, about 1/3, so China knew early on that investing in battery production would give it a major advantage. The country poured resources into building up its battery industry, and companies like CATL, Contemporary Amperex Technology Company Limited, became leaders in the field. What do you think about Mercedes's new engine? Do you think that this engine has the power to sway more car lovers to buy ICE vehicles? We'd love you to share your opinion in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channels. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.